Hello everybody, here's what's coming up tonight on Now. There was an active shooter at a hospital in New Hampshire. We'll get you all of the latest details.
Plus, we have a live guest in the studio talking about a difficult conversation, suicide. Join us.
And Ted Cruz maybe got into some trouble because of something that happened on Twitter. We'll tell you about it.
This is News Center now.
Maine lawmakers are one step closer to making marijuana social clubs and commercial growers a reality, but pot users are going to have to wait a little while longer.
Millions of people without power in the southeast in the destructive wake of Hurricane Irma. Today, we meet a Mainer who used his own vacation time to help them turn the lights back on. Good evening, everyone. I'm Amanda Hill.
And I'm Lee Goldberg. We'll have those stories in a minute, but first tonight, something we've been following, an update on the reports of an active shooter at a New Hampshire hospital. Now, police are saying a shooting was reported in the ICU unit at Dartmouth Hitchcock Medical Center at about 1 o'clock this afternoon. Employees report receiving an email with a code silver alert that tells them to evacuate or take shelter in a safe place. Police won't say if anybody was hurt. Investigators say there is no threat to the public at this time. The investigation is continuing, and of course, we will continue to follow it. Meanwhile, millions of people in Florida are still without power. Hundreds of thousands of homes in Georgia.
A man from Maine is there for the next few weeks, hoping to help get that area back on its feet, starting with a hospital.
Yeah, there's a lot of downed trees. That's probably our biggest problem right now.
Justin Webster works for a power company in Maine.
A lot of debris in the road.
But right now, his skills are needed in Georgia.
I took vacation from my job back in Maine, and I'm working with a company out of Connecticut called MCV Solutions down here. And we're down here in Georgia working for Georgia Power.
Webster barely had enough cell phone service or time to quickly chat by phone. But for 2 weeks, this is his home, getting the people of Georgia back on the grid.
They're going to be a long time in restoration down here. There's a lot of people out of power.
Power crews are assessing damage while these volunteers pick up and rebuild what they can.
Most everybody down here with us is from Connecticut and Massachusetts, but there's crews from Virginia, Tennessee. They had guys from all the way from Wisconsin. So when you see big problems like this, it's kind of like a brotherhood. You know, all kinds of linemen come from all over the United States just to, gang up and take on the one big problem.
That problem right now spans for miles, but this work is a start.
It's just a day-by-day thing.
All right, as if floods, power outages, storm damage, not enough to deal with, homeowners in Florida also have to contend with gators.
Yeah, a little bit. So last week we met my cousin. She was evacuating her Florida home. Well, her dad decided to stay. Today, this is my cousin. He posted this picture on Facebook saying that an alligator was waiting in his neighbor's driveway. The rising floodwaters pushed the animals out of their usual habitats, and now they are over heavily populated and hanging out in residential areas. So what do you even do if an alligator comes up? Just wait for it to go away? Or
is there something to get into, a car?
I mean,
home? I don't know.
You mean not the alligator?
Yes.
I mean, I assume that they would just kind of shoo, or maybe grab some food and throw it far away and let them go get it or something.
I would definitely get out of its way, for sure. Okay.
That's a good call.
Meanwhile, Irma's starting to break up. That's the good news. The storm is still dropping rain on the southeast, though.
Ryan Breton is here today. Keith Carson is not. Ryan, any rain from that storm heading our way?
Not really at all, guys. You can see the storm is really starting to weaken and spread apart. The rain is becoming much more scattered, and not much of it is heavy at this time. And for us, the weather really couldn't be any different. And the nice weather will continue for the next few days. Just a couple of clouds in northern Maine, but for the rest of us, it's sunny and summer-like warmth out there to be in the middle part of September. This is pretty nice, between about 75 and 80 in most spots. The cool spot is Rangeley at 70. Even Bar Harbor is 77. East Machias is 78, and 78 for Bangor as well this evening. So we'll keep things nice and dry through the overnight tonight. Temperatures will drop back into the 60s by 9 o'clock, and overnight lows in most spots will be in the 50s. If you're along the coastline, you can see it's a clear sky. Temps by morning are in the 50s. Some inland towns will dip back into the 40s with some patchy valley fog. The good news is the warmth continues, but there may be a couple of showers. We'll time that out in a few minutes. Guys?
All right, thanks, Ryan. It's been almost a year since Mainers voted to legalize recreational marijuana.
At the time, lawmakers and city governments have been just trying to hammer out all the different rules and regulations of what this is going to look like. Well, today, Augusta made some progress, unveiling a new plan to make pot legal. Don Kerrigan was in Augusta, shocker, and has the details for us. Okay, so what did they come up with today?
This is a draft bill by the Special Marijuana Legalization Committee. They've been working for 7 months on this. Over 60 pages of how to take the referendum that the voters passed and turn it into a state law. It covers all sorts of things about legalizing marijuana. For example, it says that there would be a 20% sales tax on marijuana, and from going up from the original 10% that was in the referendum. It delays the start of those somewhat controversial marijuana social clubs until June of 2019, and it still allows for a lot of local control, meaning towns and cities get a lot of input about everything from location of retail stores, growing facilities, even who can get a license. And of course, towns and cities, as they've been doing, a few, can continue to say, no, we don't want this at all.
You kind of went over some of the sticking points there. I guess the big question now is, how far is this from becoming a reality? Well,
it's pretty well down the road. That said, there's a public hearing, 26th of this month, at which everybody who can come and weigh in on this issue. We've been told that some of the marijuana caregivers, there are several thousand of them, those are the people currently growing and providing marijuana for medical users, that some of them are not happy, many of them not happy about some of the details of this. We expect to hear from them. There may be other aspects. Then the committee will take all that, rework it, and send this out to a vote in the full legislature late October.
So, Will, I think you maybe mentioned earlier, at least a little bit, will every town have a say in what it wants to do, or will this be one big sweeping policy for everybody? Or?
Well, I mean, for what's in the law, it's one big policy for everybody. But towns and cities have a tremendous amount of control. The state law does not restrict the number of retailers or growers in a community. The local community could do that. Portland or Portage could say, we want 2. And they can do that. That will be up to them. I believe that that the local government will be able to be more restrictive about not only how many licenses, but what they want for a licensee. And they can decide not to have these social clubs, for example, but when those come along, but could still allow growing and retail.
Now, aside from, dealing with towns and cities specifically on this, have lawmakers been working with people outside of Maine who've already kind of gone through this?
They have. They made a field trip to Colorado. They had Colorado come here. They've talked to some of the other states, and they say that a number of the things, provisions they put into this are as a result of those discussions. They want to make sure that it isn't just big business that comes in and grows, for example, or retails. They want to make sure that small people have room, and a variety of other details. They say they've been trying to learn from the examples of those other states.
So many questions on this issue, and then a million loopholes with every question that comes. So, all right, sir. Good thing you're on top of this. Thank you very much.
Still ahead.
I hear it over and over and over again. It's an issue that just clearly needs some resolution.
Apartments with mold. A nonprofit group says it's a problem in Maine and there's not much you can do to get your landlord to fix it.
And a local school is making a big change to help suicidal students get the help that they need when they need it. It's all part of a larger conversation, a conversation we will be having with representatives from the American Society for Suicide Prevention after the break. After a middle school student in Lewiston tragically took their own life, administrators are taking action to prevent more death. Lewiston schools are considering making the middle school policy district-wide, allowing school officials to contact medical professionals directly without speaking to parents first if they fear that a student is considering suicide. Talking about suicide and depression is one of the ways families and friends can help somebody struggling with thoughts of suicide. It's a conversation that needs to happen more often, and advocates are promoting those talks this month as part of Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. Joining us now, Margie Johnson and Kathy Streifel, representatives from the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Thank you guys both for joining us. What prompted each of you to get involved with this organization? You can go first.
Well, the organization was introduced to me by a former colleague who lost his brother to suicide, and about a year later I lost my own brother to suicide. So he linked me into the organization that way, and then I sought out the various things that are offered through that website.
And with me, our daughter Ashley died in 2013, and after her death, her sister Elizabeth and her brothers Tim and John set up a website called RememberAJ.com, and the walk chair from the Sanford Walk reached out to us and asked us to join a team and make a team in Ashley's memory. And we had 25 people come and walk that year. People from the Texas Roadhouse who still today support us, and family and friends, and we walked with them. And after that time, they asked us to start a walk here in Portland area, and so we've had a walk in 2014, 2015 in Scarborough, and last year in 2016 we took the walk to the University of New England, and this year it's going to be at Thompson's Point in Portland.
Whenever any family has to go through something as awful as this, there's a constant asking of questions. What could I have seen? What could I have maybe picked up on? For families who are watching this right now who maybe think there's somebody that might be having these thoughts, what can they look for specifically? Is there anything to kind of keep your eyes open for?
Well, hindsight being 20/20, and the information is out there to look for, people hiding themselves away and not being themselves, and giving away belongings, not following through with plans. I mean, any number of things. But the biggest thing is to talk to people. If you suspect, talk to them.
We have about 30 seconds left. I know you have a lot of events that are coming up this month. Specifically, give us a few of those.
Catalyst for Change is going to have a Safe Talk program at their facility on Bridge Street in Westbrook. That is on September 21st. Our walk is on September 24th.
At Thompson's Point.
At Thompson's Point. We also, in October, Leavitt High School is going to be doing the More Than Sad program, which talks about the signs of suicide.
We have a Facebook page that's very active. Anyone can go there, AFSP Maine chapter. We have an event also going through that, and the AFSP.org is the national site that links to our site as well. Okay,
great. Margie and Kathy, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it, and such an important cause, so make sure you guys get out and support those walks this month. Amanda?
All right, thanks, Lee. All right, if you're a renter, you find mold in your home, what can you do about it? Well, experts say getting rid of the mold may be your problem. Jess Gagne takes a look at the options coming up. And Ted Cruz gets into hot water with an accidental like by his official Twitter account. His explanation when we come back, plus your full forecast. Ryan tells us what to expect for the rest of the work week. Here on News Center Now, we work to respond directly to your questions.
So we got an email from a viewer asking about mold in apartment buildings. The writer said he found green and black mold in his apartment, and it's causing major respiratory issues for his wife. He said when he complained to his landlord and officials in his hometown of Arundel, he was told there are no laws to protect renters and no real recourse that he could take.
News Center's Jessica Gagne took a look into this. Jess, you found out the viewer's pretty much right.
Yeah, officials at the nonprofit Maine Indoor Air Quality Council say at this point there aren't many options for tenants when it comes to mold. It's actually easier for them to move than it is to fight the battle right now, but the group is hoping that will change soon.
Mold in rental units is an issue here for the state of Maine, and you know, it's based on the hundreds of calls that we get.
Stories like this one from our viewer. He sent these photos and says mold is growing in his Arundel home and making his wife sick. Even with pictures like this, Christine Crocker of the Maine Indoor Air Quality Council says most likely the landlord is not legally bound to take action.
There aren't very strong laws to help them force the issue with the landlord. It can be an expensive fix. Lots of times there's a lot of misunderstanding that happens back and forth between the landlord and the tenant.
Crocker says mold is prevalent in Maine and is a challenge for landlords because every tenant reacts to it differently. Even very small amounts can make a sensitive person sick. She says some towns will take action against landlords when mold like this turns up, but if a code enforcement officer is not willing to take a look, there's not much the tenant can do. If you're suffering, Crocker says moving is the quick answer. Otherwise, you may end up waiting a while and spending a lot of money on lawyers before something is done.
It's just a challenge. If the landlord's not willing to fix the problem and the tenant doesn't have the resources to do it on their own, I don't know what recourse they really have.
That's something Maine Indoor Air Quality is hoping to change. Crocker believes mold management is the responsibility of both the landlord and the tenant. Her organization plans to hold a symposium where all involved parties can share ideas on the best ways forward, whether that be legislative measures or helping landlords with mold removal costs.
I don't know what the solution will be, but we're certainly looking, and I think there's a solution out there. I just don't know what it is yet.
Crocker says managing moisture is the key to managing mold, and we have resources listed for you on our websites. And of course, Amanda and Lee, this is a story we will continue to follow.
All right, Jessica, thank you very much. We have no complaints about the weather. No. You've got the easiest job in the world. Sunny, 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 sunny. It's like Mandiego. I'm telling you, it's Mandiego. Come on.
That's the first I'd heard it. I know.
No, it's not the first. You heard
Jess
it
laugh earlier.
Jess is an advocate against it. That's for sure.
Well,
you know.
What else is new?
Right? Yeah. No. Well, otherwise, I guess when you look at these temperatures, it is somewhat like San Diego. So I'll roll with it for today, but it's just because it's the first day that I heard it. How about that? We'll be in the upper 70s along the coastline tomorrow, low 80s inland, but the reason why I'm showing this is that there's no real sign of below normal air until maybe the beginning of next week. So a lot of warm stuff is in this forecast. Tonight we're between 75 and 80 degrees in most spots, a bit cooler in Greenville at 69, 76 degrees in Calais, and we're at 79 in Lewiston, Auburn. You can see the reason why it's a bit cooler along the coastline. A light sea breeze has developed, and that will happen again tomorrow. So probably getting to about 80 and then dropping back some during the afternoon. It's mostly sunny with just a few clouds in northern Maine right now, but high pressure is in charge, and that's going to remain the case for the next few days. This is what's left of Irma, and there isn't much there. So our hope for rain this week, we could use it considering the drought we're still in, is not very high. I think a lot of that moisture will dry up by the time it gets here. For tonight, clear and comfortable with some patchy valley fog. Lows will range from the upper 40s in the mountains to low and mid 50s through most of the rest of Maine. So a comfortable night tonight. Tomorrow's very similar to today. We will have a sea breeze that develops during the afternoon. A few more clouds around on Thursday, but I actually think we're pretty warm on Thursday. Again, upper 70s to lower 80s. So 76 for Boothbay tomorrow, 78 from Portland to Ogunquit. But again, inland we get into the low 80s here tomorrow, even Rangeley closing in on the 80-degree mark for the high. Down East Maine, 75 to 80, perhaps a bit above 80 degrees in Bangor tomorrow. You can see all the sunshine that we'll have here through the day. Some clouds spread in, though, during the afternoon, especially in western Maine. And then by the time we get to Thursday, I think we'll have a lot more clouds around. And these are actually some of the clouds associated with what was once Irma. So despite those clouds, it will be a warm air mass that's in place. So temps on Thursday, again, should get up above the 80-degree mark. Here's a look at the next 7. It's summer that continues here in Maine. Low 80s inland the next 3 or 4 days. Right now, the weekend's looking really good. In fact, we bumped Saturday's temperatures up by a few degrees. Right now, it looks like upper 70s along the coast into the 80s inland. The next big chance for rain holds off until maybe next Tuesday, and even that doesn't look huge. So the idea is that the nice weather continues here for the next several days.
Absolutely amazing to see those temperatures. All
definitely.
Right. Thank you. All right, now that school's back in session, it's time to start featuring some of our state's most well-rounded kids. The Varsity Club makes a comeback.
It's true. We are looking for nominations of senior scholar athletes that excel on the playing fields and in the classroom and in the community. Nominations need to come from a teacher or a coach or school administrator. The feature will run on Wednesday nights and then again on Thursday mornings starting next week. So if you know somebody who would make a good addition to the Varsity Club, send the nominations to varsityclub@WCSH6.com or varsityclub@WLBZ2.com. At the end of the year, one boy and one girl will each receive a $2,500 scholarship in memory of longtime News Center sports director Bruce Glazier, who pioneered the Varsity Club 3 decades ago.
Katie Ortiz here with your social stop, and the best thing on Twitter since Covfefe. Social media all had a collective laugh this morning at Senator Ted Cruz's expense because in the dark of the night, his account favorited a tweet featuring a 2-minute clip of some hardcore pornography. And obviously we can't show you the evidence, but if you need the receipts, a quick Twitter search should help you out. But around 2 a.m. this morning, a spokesperson from Cruz's camp said the offensive tweet posted on his account earlier was removed by staff and reported to Twitter. But what's a scandal without a vicious roast online? Tom Murphy says he'll pay $10 to any reporter who asks the senator if he's seen any good movies lately. Even Governor Mike Huckabee got in on the fun, albeit in his defense. Leave Ted Cruz alone. He didn't like porn, he liked corn, and it was his first overture to Iowa voters for 2020. Austin, though, was banking on the "I was hacked" press conference, but he didn't blame it all on hackers. Senator Ted Cruz told NBC News a number of people have access to his account and someone inadvertently hit the like button. And as for that adult Twitter account, they thanked Cruz for watching in a tweet and changed their bio to include "follow for the same porn Ted Cruz watches." Lee and Amanda.
All right, thanks, Katie. Cindy's here with a look at what's coming up in the next half hour.
Yeah, you need a new iPhone? Well, you have
Can't afford it.
not one choice, 3. Yeah, these you really won't be able to afford. They are pricey, but they're pretty cool. So engineers at Apple went big today with their announcement of these new devices. They're celebrating their 10th anniversary of the groundbreaking iPhone, facial recognition, wireless charging, and the extinction of the home button. What will we do? It's coming up. Also, the president's investigation into voter fraud is getting underway in New Hampshire, and Maine's Secretary of State is part of that team. He says he wants to find answers either way. We're going to have those stories and more coming up in the next half hour.
All right, News Center Now continues after the break.
Alrighty, so we've been getting a lot of questions about why this hurricane season has been so active, and part of it is luck in some ways, but between Irma and Harvey, only 16 days separated those two hurricane landfalls. You have to go all the way back to 2005 for the last major hurricane to make landfall, and part of that's luck. But the other reason is that the weather pattern in recent summers has not been conducive to hurricanes. So one area we look for tropical waves to form is coming off Africa. And in recent summers, there's been dry air and not a lot of waves coming off of Africa. But all 3 of these storms, Irma, Jose, and Harvey, had some sort of wave and some sort of thunderstorm activity coming off of Africa. Then they ran into really warm water temperatures between 85 and 90. But the key this year was the winds high in the atmosphere where these hurricanes form were very weak. No big jet stream, and that allowed them to grow big and strong.
Wow,
active and destructive.
You bet.
All right, thank you, sir.
News Center at 5:30 starts now.